Kia ora. Welcome in to the first CouchSide Sports Report, hosted by the CouchSide Network. You've got Dylan and Simon with you. This is our first episode ever of our CouchSide Sports Report that will be coming out weekly. Simon, my man, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing excellent.
Let's go.
It's been a long day of hard work. But I'm glad I get to sit on this couch, get to hold this very not really expensive, this microphone we paid money for, real money.
It's expensive for us.
And we just get to talk about sport.
That's what we do, man.
And we get to talk about real sport.
True that.
Sports is happening now.
True that.
Because we previously, you might know us from a very ill-fated podcast called Sports Story, which we ran about 3 years ago. Did about 4 episodes, and we did enjoy that, but we did feel a little bit restricted by always talking about the past.
Yeah.
Well, here we get to talk about what's happening now, while also still calling back to
absolutely
all of those great stories
we
from
can just
years ago.
Talk sports like we were on the couch, man.
Exactly.
Funnily enough.
Well, funnily enough, we're here. And also, unlike Sports Story, you can watch us on YouTube with a video.
That is
Hopefully,
very true.
it is all gone to plan, and this is going with a visual. If it's not, it's going to be a bit awkward, but trust us, we'll get it done
Trust
soon.
the brothers.
We'll get it done soon.
Absolutely, it will definitely be on Spotify for sure. But should we give you a quick rundown of what's happening?
Of course.
This is how the weekly episode is going to go. So we're going to talk about our Aotearoa, our New Zealand sport of the week. Then we're going to talk about our international sport of the week. Then we're going to have a little segment at the end that we have 4 options of, but we'll explain that later on. That's a pretty good rundown on it.
I think it's a brilliant rundown.
I
don't think we have to do it again.
Short and sweet,
I
baby.
think you've nailed it on the head there.
All right. Well, Simon, why don't you get us into the first Aotearoa sport of the week, which happened to be should we call it the NRL All-Star Game?
Well, it is the NRL All-Star Game.
Well, there you go.
What
Run
did
us
you think
through,
it was
baby.
called?
Well, I didn't know if it was called the Indigenous versus Māori game
Well, it is.
Stuff along those lines, which is a fantastic concept, by the way. Whoever came up with that in 2010, fantastic. I'm pretty sure it was 2010.
Yes.
Excellent concept. But give it to us, brother. What happened?
Well, the NRL had its yearly All-Star game in Townsville, I believe. The Indigenous All-Stars took on the Māori All-Stars.
Let's go.
They've been playing each other, I think, every year since around 2015 or 16. The All-Star game was a 2010 creation, but they played a generic NRL All-Stars team.
Yeah.
Instead, the Indigenous team did. But it's an absolutely...
Because the state of origin isn't enough.
Your state of origin is not enough, apparently. Amazing All-Star game from the sounds of it. Dylan, you actually watched it.
I did end up watching it.
I unfortunately did not have the time to
Can't
consume all of it.
Can't believe you've done this.
I do want to check out the highlights, but the Māori team was stacked with a whole bunch of guys
There were
that
a lot of
New Zealand
there.
Warriors fans would know. You know, Chance Clockstad,
James Fisher-Harris.
You even had the likes of Callum Ponga in that team, and a whole bunch of other guys. And then the Indigenous team, would you care to tell us some of the players?
There were some people there, man. I'm going to be honest with you. The one I think that was more impressive, but at least one of the names I remember was Mr. Munro, who was out on the wing. I want to say his first name's, I'm pretty sure it's Tyrone.
Don't quote us on this.
Don't quote us on that.
Don't quote us.
As you can see, huge rugby league fans. No, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, there was Munro. You had Mitchell out there.
Oh, yes.
I'll be honest with you. The thing that I was most impressed with when it came to the game was not only the Indigenous dance and the haka at the start, which was awesome.
It's
and
always amazing.
And me being Māori myself, seeing those guys out there putting full mana into it was awesome. But in saying that, the game itself, and I'm gonna people will understand this. 'Cause I'll probably talk about my dad very often in these episodes.
Oh yeah.
But my dad is full rugby union guy.
Yeah.
Full, and he's taught me to be a full rugby union guy.
As union as it gets.
As union as it gets. That is a good way of putting it. But he, after this game, because I only watched the first half, he watched the whole thing. I've never seen him react so happily to a rugby league game like he did this one. He was super impressed with it. And the concept of it is awesome.
Yeah.
But man, the Māori All-Stars end up winning it 10-6.
Yeah.
And most people will hear that score and go, you know what?
Only
it
16
was a
points
boring
in the game. What's going on?
Yeah. What happened? Trust me when I say this. Go and watch these highlights. This game was on. And the Māori All-Stars defense, at least for the first half, and from what it sounds like the entire game, was on point. Kalen Ponga, who was playing for the Māori All-Stars, the first, what do you call it, game-saving tackle, or try-saving tackle that he threw out there, it was on Mr. Munro again.
Oh, Mr. Munro.
What do you call it? This just stone-walled him, dude. It was awesome. Like, the game itself was awesome. And to be fair, we'll talk about this later as well, but I think our friends over in America need to take some notes on All-Star games.
Although one of the leagues, I think, has adopted a very good format that once a game, we will talk about that near the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll hit my mic with my nose.
There you go.
NRL,
that's how you know it's our first one.
The first episode, can't judge how far the mic away is from my face. But
yeah,
the NRL All-Star game, a great
awesome.
way to start the season.
Fantastic.
We have NRL Vegas in 2 weeks, I believe.
That's going to be sick.
March 2nd, the Warriors playing the Sharks. I cannot is it the Sharks? No. Don't quote me. I've seemed to have forgotten who the Warriors are.
Let's just say it's the Sharks.
But next week we will be previewing the Vegas game, as it will actually be the week leading up into that.
Yeah.
So we will preview the NRL next week in full detail. Will Penrith repeat again? Will we see a new challenger take it on?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. NRL All-Star game. What an awesome way to start the season. And I do like, it wasn't last year actually, it was the year before. They did take it to Rotorua, which I think was long overdue.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing time for the local community there, and it's just a place synonymous with, multiculture. So
and before we move on to the next one, I'm going to correct you on one thing because I just remembered it. The game was in Sydney.
Was it?
It was in Parramatta.
Oh, it was at CommBank.
Yeah, it was at CommBank.
It was previously in Townsville.
Yeah.
My bad.
Kind of glad they moved it to Sydney, to be honest.
Nah,
people are going to be, somebody's going to listen. One person's going to listen from Townsville and be like,
"You're already alienating yourself with Cowboy supporters, mate. You got to be careful here. We're already what 10 minutes into this? Even I don't even know.
Are we going to get cancelled already?
Probably.
There you go.
Hopefully not. Yeah, we want to make a career after this.
With that being said, let's move on to the next one, which is of course the rugby union, the Super Rugby, baby.
Rugby's back.
Yeah, Super Rugby is back.
Only 11 teams this year, but I'm sure we're going to see a lot of great rugby. Despite what the Northern Hemisphere fans might say.
That is very true.
Yeah, I did see.
That's going to be interesting. Something I'm sure we'll discuss on future episodes as well.
We're not touching Northern Hemisphere rugby today, but with the Six Nations currently ongoing and with the end of the European season only in a few months, I'm sure we'll probably bring up some major results, especially from the top 14 in France, the Premiership in England, and obviously their Champions Cup tournament as well.
Yeah, very true.
But I did see someone on Twitter tried to make a claim, Super Rugby doesn't have any defense. What do you mean? Like the games are 37, 36, 40, blah, blah, blah. And then someone posted a screenshot from a Champions Cup round and it was 82-0, 50-6. And it's like, why are you talking?
Yeah, that's fair.
But to the actual results, it all kicked off on Friday night where the Crusaders hosted the Hurricanes. I did think the Crusaders were going to get this one, and it wasn't easy. No. They did have to come back, and they did have to rely on a Wellingtonian to actually get this result in the form of Mr. Preston.
Oh, was he Wellingtonian?
He's a Wellingtonian. I
didn't know that. Hat-trick on debut, though.
Went to Tawa College and came off the bench as well. Obviously, after 17 minutes for an injured Noel Hoffman.
Oh, so he did get injured. Because I saw that Preston came on early, and I was like, what happened to Hotha, mate? But he got injured. There you go.
But that will be a huge win for the Crusaders. They had an absolutely horrendous 2024. They couldn't buy themselves a win after all of these years of just amazing success under Razor. But they managed to grind their way against the Cane side, which isn't as strong as last year. They've lost a number of key players. Savia's obviously at Moana. Geordie Barrett's over in Ireland at the moment at Leinster.
True.
They do have some good youngsters, and they did lose a number of other players as well. So I did think this was going to be a transitional year for the Canes, but they could probably feel quite, obviously not happy with losing, but it was only by 8 points. And the Crusaders on paper, very good team. Yeah,
that's and this is I'm going to out us right now.
Oh no.
We're Blues fans.
You already?
I'm going.
I thought we could convince him.
No, we're going to be real. I thought we could
convince him for a little bit longer.
No, we're going to be real here. We're Blues fans. I'm proud. I'm too proud of the Auckland not to say that. And the reason I'm saying what I'm about to say next is because it hurts me to my core. But this Crusaders team is going to be better than the one last year. I don't think there's if anybody says otherwise, they're either way too hardcore of a Blues fan,
I mean,
which we're close to being.
Very hardcore.
But at the same time, I think you've got to look at that team now. Healthy Will Jordan, which may free up more for Severis.
Yes.
They need to find a number 10, and to be fair, the All Blacks in general need to find a number 10. But in saying that, they've still got a great team around there. And classic dog roll, straight to the yellow card, mate.
Dog roll, yeah. I saw the highlights because I was out for dinner when the game was on, and I did see Scott Barrett getting sent off earlier. I was like, oh, well, the script writes itself.
Yeah.
Almost.
That's our captain.
That's our captain. But
and saying that, Crusaders did pull out the dub.
They did.
Fair play to them. But a lot of those games were close. Like, that was what, 8?
Yes.
Brumbies beat the Drua by 4, or was that a 1-pointer? 4.
The next game was a 1-pointer, and it was the Waratahs hosting the Highlanders in Sydney.
That's right.
And I did believe the Waratahs would get the win here, and they did at the depth.
At the depth.
At the depth. But I did say I thought the Highlanders were going to take it to the depth. And being Blues fans, I think we were both upset.
There's quite a few Blues guys there.
Yeah, especially upset to see Soane Fakena leave at the end of last season.
Yeah,
we all
that's
thought
tough.
that he would probably be the next guy up in terms of hookers, but unfortunately for him, Ricky Riccitelli had an amazing season last year.
It's just sad that Ricky Riccitelli, he has too many R's. Ricky Riccitelli,
Perfect.
shout out to my guy, is going to be like moving to overseas next year, because I think if he didn't, and to be fair, he has a good point, he should have been in the All Black squad
100%.
But yeah, it's a little bit sad because Sione Vakena, young guy coming up behind Ricky Riccitelli and Kurt Eklund, is like, that's tough. But hey, he got his opportunity at the Highlanders.
Started first game.
Caleb Tangito debut for the Highlanders.
Yep,
he got the double.
He was unfortunately the Blues for the last 5 or so years have had an absolutely stacked outside back roster.
I was about to say,
like, if you have, obviously Rico playing in centers was his idea, and he was originally a center. Yeah, but obviously a lot of people still think he's a winger, which does piss me off. But the fact you have Caleb Clark, Mark Talea, you also have San Sullivan can play on the wing if he wants to, but it's really a fullback and a fly half. Yeah. You have other players like AJ Lamb, originally a winger, has had to convert into center and hasn't been too bad.
No, he hasn't been too bad.
And then we had JRK. I don't have his name in front of me, so I don't want to butcher his.
You mean who's now at the Highlanders?
Who's also
Are you talking about Jacob Aratu Matavuki Neepkins?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
This is why I hired Dylan, guys.
That's why you get a Māori on.
Yeah.
But yeah, but he, I mean, to be fair, he's doing his stuff at the Canes too.
And he was always been very good
Canes,
provincially.
Highlanders.
He's been very good provincially as well.
So I guess that's. I don't want to say it's going to be similar to last year, but like, it's a young team that's on the way up. If they can keep it together and keep developing their players, they may have something there.
I think the Landers finish higher than the Canes. Personally, this year, I think the Canes have some awesome young players, but I think they had too much of a transitional year.
See, this is I might have to disagree on that one.
That's the point of the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, we're all allowed our opinions. This is just a community to talk, man. So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the Canes will finish above the Highlanders. But the Highlanders, I can't lie. There may be some talent there.
I'm really keen to see if Fabian Holland does get that All Blacks call up, because I think with Sam Darry injured for the majority of all the Super Rugby season,
the Super Rugby season.
He's probably going to get a nod at lock, and they've been earmarking him, I think, since he arrived in this country.
Literally.
On scholarship. True. So it'll be really interesting to see a Dutch-born and raised All Black.
That's going to be very interesting.
That he is joined at some point in time by Anton Segner, because he actually arrived earlier, and amazing story coming from Germany.
That's true.
Going to Nelson College, playing for Tasman, and then deciding to play for the Blues.
If people don't say rugby union is worldwide, you just proved 2 examples of why it is.
The Northern Hemisphere were upset of us from giving scholarships to players in
when are they not upset,
in Polynesia.
When are they not upset?
Look what we're doing now.
Yeah. When are they not upset about something?
Yeah.
If Antoine Dupont is not the GOAT to them,
we're not talking about
We're not going to talk about that. But the one game that wasn't close, unfortunately for us, happened to be the Blues game.
Yeah, one that both of us were attending.
We're at.
But yeah, it just wasn't a day for the Blues. It kind of felt
Yeah.
like they were still locked in a preseason mode, unfortunately. Although there
Yeah.
were some points in time where we did look switched on. That first half, we definitely appeared to be the better team. The Chiefs
Yeah.
were kind of asleep, and I thought we looked good. Unfortunately, the second half did turn for the worse for the Blues.
Yeah. Now, fans, we're all fans, right?
Yeah.
When you're a fan of a team, you're going to go straight for the refs. But let's be real here.
I didn't have a problem.
Yeah. You know, I know. I think most people will know the Blues discipline was not on point.
It wasn't great.
Now I'm not going to argue now the yellow card. You know, it's what it was head on head. There's not much. Was it? Yeah, that was what the yellow card was for.
The
right?
other head was Josh
Fusitua,
Fusitua.
yeah.
Head contact on a Chiefs player, and then directly after that, there was an incident with Caleb Clark getting tackled in the air,
Yeah.
and then Chiefs shot on the ground. But obviously, they didn't do anything about that
No.
because I believe advantage was being played, which upset people in the stand. But I believe
Yeah.
you do go for whatever the first one is, and I
Yeah,
don't
you
think
have
it
to.
wasn't vicious enough to result in a red card, regardless.
No, that's fair. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, we're not rugby refs. They're out there doing the
Yeah.
best decisions we can, the best decision they can. I think at some point, even though we love as fans to bag on the ref because there's probably not anything else we feel like we
just
can blame.
chat to any New Zealander after the last World Cup final. That was everyone's hobby for about 3 days,
That is true.
which I don't condone.
No.
I think, yeah, there were some calls which didn't go the way, but you don't attack the referee directly
Nah, man.
because there's a lot more going on. It's
Yeah,
not just
you
him.
never know.
He's got assistants. He's got TMO. There's a lot going on.
I
to ref
think I
again.
think that may have been the issue with that though, is that he had the TMO too much.
Yeah.
But hey, there
We're
you
not
go.
talking about that today, folks.
There you go. 2027
not-
World
we're
Cup
not
will happen in
gonna-
2027.
And just so I clear the air here, we're not bitter South Africa won because a lot of people come to
Amen.
that conclusion. South Africa winning the World Cup 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
Props, hella
Fair
props.
play.
Awesome team when it comes to the World Cup.
Yeah.
They've switched on for tournaments the last two times, and yeah,
Definitely wish they were still in Super Rugby.
yeah,
Definitely
absolutely, absolutely,
Definitely wish. Speaking of wish though,
yeah.
we wished for a long time that there was an Auckland team in the A-League. And we
Yeah.
finally got it.
We
and
did.
Boy, are they doing well right now.
They are, and we will talk about that very, very soon.
Yeah.
Because we still have a little bit of Super Rugby to cover.
That's
The one
true.
thing about the Blues, I will say, the line out, amazing. We
Yeah.
picked a lot of the Chiefs lineouts. That seems to be because I
Yeah.
believe that was a very strong point of the team last year. It
was.
still is.
And without Sam Darry too.
Exactly, Lachlan McWonnell, backed up.
Yeah,
Obviously, we had
absolutely.
Cameron Sawfor, who is a lock, playing at 8.
Yeah.
Also, Anton Signer. I think he's quite used to being a line-out asset as well.
Yes.
So it was good to see that. For the Chiefs, they had Leroy Carter on debut, and he was very good for them.
Yeah.
Probably
He
an
was.
outside All Blacks 15, as in the B team
Yeah.
candidate. A lot of Chiefs fans online were calling him the next All Blacks winger.
Yeah,
They
calm
were
down,
doing
mate.
that to Sean Stevenson, and look what happened there. So
Yeah, calm down.
let's
mate.
take this one game at a time, although Sean Stevenson maybe deserved a little bit more of a role in a black jersey. But we'll get to that
Yeah,
in
I'm
another
sure we'll get to that
episode.
at some point.
Damian McKenzie was very good. Scored 2 tries for himself. Did miss a kick run from the posts, which the Blues, the Eden Park staff decided to play. You had a bad day straight after
They
that.
did. That
which
was
was quite
great.
funny. It was one of
You
the
had a bad day.
few second half
Take
highlights.
one down. Yeah.
But yeah, for the Blues, it's only the first game of the season. You don't base a
Exactly.
whole season off your first game.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure there's been seasons in the past where the Blues won the first game and then lost probably all of the ones which came straight after.
Yep, that's
Basically,
true.
any Blues team before 2020.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah,
And
Blues.
also the Blues have got some injured players there too.
Yes, no Hoskins.
Yeah.
There was no.
Who better be an All Black this year? I know
better
I'm
be.
going to get hate for that because people are going to be like, yeah.
Me.
I don't care. If
No.
that dude has a similar season to how he did
Yeah.
last year, he deserves to be an All
As
Black.
long as he's backing himself up from last year, having a very
Yeah.
similar, if not better, season,
Yeah,
he has to be.
yeah.
Right.
And play some defense.
Yeah. play some defense.
No, I'm not going to do him like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, quickly before we move on to the A League though, the football, I do want to throw this out there. The Moana Pacifica game with the Force, where the Force won by a point, it was 45-44.
Yes.
I hope I'm getting this right, and I only say this because I only looked at the highlights of it. The last try that the Force got, which was like pretty much at the death, can I just say, may have been one of the easiest let in last minute tries I think I've ever seen.
It's unfortunate, but I think you look at the scoreline and you realize it had to be a high paced game for it to get to about over 80 points of total score, almost 90.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Moana were probably, knackered. And the Force were probably knackered too. And being in Perth, it's a very long travel from Auckland. And being the first games for quite a lot of the Moana players, including their captain, Adi Savia, massive signing for them. But I am really, really, really interested to see how Moana go on the season.
Same.
I haven't got his name written down, but their left winger, he's a Tongan international. I think he's only about 21 years old.
Okay.
He looks his first name's Kyron. He looks absolutely lethal.
Okay.
He scored in the last game. I think he is one to watch. He's going to be probably one of the best players playing in New Zealand who won't actually play for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Because he's already a Tongan rep. I think he might be from Tasman. I'm not sure. Tasman just has a habit. Oh, the camera. Our camera has stopped recording.
But we're going to carry on anyway.
We're going to carry on anyway. If you're watching this visually, don't worry. We will be back very shortly. Oh, we're back. Look at that.
Oh, there we go. Light work.
See me crouch down. Hopefully that isn't a recurring issue because I don't really want to buy a camera.
No, neither do I. Anyway, next week, what? Chiefs versus Crusaders.
Huge game.
That's going to be interesting.
It's a bit of a. I feel like it is a bit of a rivalry. Even though you don't really see Hamilton and Christchurch as rivaling
I think everybody's
cities.
rival in New Zealand is Auckland, mate.
But I think because these teams have been successful somewhat recently.
Yeah.
The Chiefs had their repeat in 2012 and 2013. They were the premier team in New Zealand. And the Crusaders, only a couple of years after that, started winning for fun.
Again.
And the Chiefs and the Crusaders have had some of the strongest teams in this decade. The Chiefs have had a few good teams before the season. The Crusaders obviously won everything before last season.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a real test for the Crusaders to see if they can keep up that good form. Because you'd say the Chiefs and the Blues were probably the strongest looking New Zealand teams heading into the competition.
Yeah, they were.
For the Crusaders, you have to see, well, have we bounced back from last season, or are we still in that mid period where we're still transitioning to get back to the top? But knowing the Crusaders, I'll take it to the Chiefs. We'll see how well the Chiefs do.
Yeah, that's true. Who's at home for that game?
It is Chiefs home game.
So it's at FMG.
It's at FMG in Hamilton.
I mean, to be fair, when the Crusaders beat the Chiefs in the final, that was at FMG.
It was.
I happened to be there, so
you did happen to be there.
That's gonna be an interesting one. Blues play the Highlanders.
We do. We probably want to win that
Forsyth
game.
We want to win that game.
Yeah, it will be hard. The Landers obviously love their home ground. And they do have a bunch of really good young players, but I think the Blues will be hoping to have some guys back from injury. They didn't lose by too much to the Chiefs, so I think they'll be hoping they can, beat the Highlanders.
I think it might just be a more competitive league all round this year anyway.
And the other games will run off these very quickly. The Reds host Moana Pacifica, I believe, in Brisbane. The Hurricanes host the Fijian Drua. That'll be a very interesting game.
Yeah.
To see how well the Fijians stack up outside of Fiji this season, because they do get a very big benefit playing in Fiji.
They love a home game.
They love a home game. I don't criticize that. I think that's awesome to have a home advantage.
True
because if you're going to have very humid weather, play to it,
True that.
The guys from Dunedin, they don't know what's hitting them when they fly into Suva and it's 35 degrees and thunderstorms and lightning.
Yeah, true. It's kind of why I wish, and I know they did this last year, but before we just bounce on to the next ones, if Moana Pacifica played their games in either Tonga or Samoa.
Yeah.
I hope they just continue to do that more and more, because I think that'd be awesome for those communities.
I think it's a part of their plan that they're always playing in at least one of the islands every year. And I think it's great. I think in an ideal world, you play in both.
It'd be every game.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But there's more Polynesians living in Auckland than there is in the islands.
Yeah, that's fair.
To an extent.
That's fair.
They have a bigger market, although obviously playing their home games in Albany is obviously probably not where they ideally want to play.
Are they playing their home games at North Harbour Stadium?
They are. They did last year, I believe, and they are this year. I would even think playing at Pukekohe would make more sense, but I believe the Warriors are leasing out that ground almost every weekend for SG Ball and Harold Matthews games.
Yeah, that's tough.
So they'll be a bit difficult to wrestle.
Yeah.
Because they've got to deal with the Warriors NRL side and now Auckland FC at Mount Smart,
Yeah,
where they
that's
originally
true.
were playing their games.
That's a lot.
But hopefully, the Moana do get some good crowds this year.
I hope so
because
too,
I think Artie will interest a lot of Samoans in Auckland because he's
he's Artie
he's
Savia.
a very proud Samoan.
Yeah.
I think if he wasn't so key for the All Blacks, he'd probably play for Samoa at the next World Cup.
He probably would.
But he will be a part of the All Blacks this year. If he does play for us this year, he can't play for Samoa.
That's true.
So
That's true.
That is unfortunate, but I would love to see him in a Mana Samoa shirt at one stage.
Yeah.
Because I believe Julian has already been capped by them last year.
Was he?
I believe he
I wouldn't be
was.
surprised. I
Because-
don't know, but
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. Let's throw supposedly out there.
I
in case we get in
believe he
trouble.
has. But obviously, going to the other major island, which is in Fiji, in the form of Tonga, they've had Charles Piatoa and Malakai Fikitoa play for them. They've even had Solomon Nakata, former Warrior, and Moana player play for them as well.
Yes.
So that's been awesome to see. Moving on for Super Rugby, we also have the Brumbies playing the Force. I don't really
I expect
know.
the Brumbies to take that out.
Yeah, I reckon it'll be an interesting game.
Yeah.
But I don't know too much about both sides. I mean, the
check 'em out.
Waratahs have the bye. I mean, I think, that's everything I can read.
Yeah, that Chiefs Crusaders game's going to be interesting. But let's move on, my man. Let's move on
to more of my expertise.
A-League, baby.
A-League. Auckland
All right.
FC. I watched the replay for this because I was at the Blues game.
Yeah.
And I didn't try to watch it from my seat so I could actually see what was going on. But 2-0 win over Western United, who were fourth when the game kicked off.
Yeah.
Because they were third, but someone won overnight and they slipped down.
Mm-hmm.
This was the same Western team which beat us 4-0 at Mount Smart earlier in the season, which was our first real, genuine negative performance since joining the league. But a 2-0 win, an absolute thunderstrike of a goal. I would have said another term there, but I want to keep it PG.
Yeah, fair enough.
By Guillermo Mai. He just shoots where he wants to shoot, and half the time
That dude,
it goes in the net.
That dude's range.
He's awesome.
That's
He's
tough.
genuinely one of my favourite players at Auckland. And then the other goal just a few minutes later, a tap in from Max Mata made it 2-0.
Let's go.
Second half had some opportunities. Western had some opportunities, but were able to hold it out in a actual home game for Western. They were playing it out in Tarneit rather than AMI Stadium in the heart of Melbourne. So they have a training field, which is actually the home stadium at the moment, because they will build a bigger stadium. I think it hosts about 5,000 people, which isn't too bad because they do play games in the centre of Melbourne for the extra crowd.
Yeah, but it also might feel like, to them, like more of a grassroots game, which actually isn't the worst thing in the world.
No, and I think the A-League benefits from actually having good, close crowds.
Yeah,
because
it does.
You see some games, like when the Raw, especially the Raw at the moment, who are horrific, are playing at Suncorp to a couple thousand people. It's not great. The atmosphere isn't there. The team not playing well obviously isn't helping.
No.
But no, great game for Auckland. Like I said, I watched the replay. We've still got a few players out with injury, but we
on top, baby.
We are on top, 5 points clear of Adelaide. And Adelaide have been very good this season. They've been a revelation. They lost probably one of the best youngsters the A-League has ever produced in the story, Aaron Kunda, and they are playing even better. They signed Archie Goodwin from Newcastle, and he's been bagging them in for fun. They have one of the best academies in all of Australia, which is helping just elevate that squad even more.
Yeah.
And they've got an awesome stadium in the former Cooper Stadium. It is a genuine football stadium. It's double tiered for the most part. It's close to the pitch. The fans are great. Adelaide are one of the all-round best teams in the A-League at the moment.
Yeah.
They're taking it to Auckland this season. We needed a 100th minute winner to beat them in Adelaide earlier this year, which was one of the most insane games of football I'd watched that season. But a good one for Auckland. But on the other side of the coin, the Wellington Phoenix, also in Victoria, but lost 1-0 to the Melbourne Victory.
They're dropping off a little bit, eh?
It is really unfortunate to see, because despite being now a proud Auckland fan, I'm also at heart a proud New Zealand football fan.
Absolutely.
I want to see New Zealand football succeed everywhere.
We need to be 1 and 2, baby.
Exactly. I want us to be 1 and 2. Auckland first, Wellington second. That's fine. but seen Wellington drop off, and half of it isn't even their own fault.
Yeah.
They've had massive issues this season. Steven Kolovsky joined from, I believe, Perth Glory, Australian winger, was going to be a nice complement to the next attack, got injured straight away in the season with an ACL.
Yeah.
Out for the year. Marco Rojas, big homecoming for him, has been injured for the majority of the season.
Yeah.
Other players have been picking up injuries left and right. Alex Rufer, who has just reinvented himself the last couple of seasons.
True.
He has had time out or has played games when he probably shouldn't have. Same goes for Tim Payne, who's always been very reliable for the Knicks. Against Victory, do you know how many defenders they had in their starting lineup?
Who, the Phoenix?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
7.
That's it?
7 defenders
7.
in the starting lineup.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
7.
That's I say is that it?
Is
That's
that
not
it?
what I meant.
No, 7 out of 11 players on the field.
That's damn.
And it's including one goalkeeper as well, I believe. Well,
Holy.
actually, no. I'm not entirely sure,
That's a lot.
but it is a lot regardless. So they've had problems with injuries, and also, unfortunately for the Knicks, the import signings this year have not been as good as they were hoping for.
Yeah.
Scott Wooden is still at the club, still an import. He's been a very big part for them on defense.
Yeah.
The experience of being a former Football League battler, Man United Academy graduate.
True.
He's always going to have that experience. A lot of other centre backs don't have in the A League.
Nope.
But
no, they don't.
unfortunately, there are 2 Japanese imports in Shige and I believe it's Nagasawa. I have this.
Yeah, there's Nagasawa. I'm pretty sure
Nagasawa?
it is.
There it is. There it is.
Good to make sure we get it right.
They've unfortunately not produced as much as I think the Knicks would want. Shige
Yeah.
has scored a couple amazing free kicks. Apart from that, I don't think it's been nearly ideal.
Yeah.
They did just sign a new Portuguese attacking midfielder as David Ball was released mid-year, which is really unfortunate to see. Bally,
Yeah, because he put in work, dude.
Bally,
David Ball was there for a little bit.
5 years.
Yeah, there you go.
Been there for a hot minute and, was so good for the team. He dropped off in form last year and he wasn't in Italiano's plans for this season. And they released him mid-year so they could bring this Portuguese guy in. They do have one more import who I can't think of over the top of my head. Have to be... the goalkeeper. Oluwayemi.
Yeah.
Who I have seen him play and have seen him play when he's made mistakes, especially at the beginning of the season. He had a blunder which helped Auckland win the first derby. He has not been as... I thought there's been moments when he's looked really good. He's from Spurs Academy. He's played a bunch in Europe. He's still young. But obviously, it got to a point where they benched him for a 19-year-old in Albie Kelly Hield.
Yeah.
And he has still been starting regularly. And he's looked a lot more composed. And they gave him a new contract, the import goalkeeper, like 2 games into the season. They signed him on for an extra year.
Wow.
And then eventually, a couple months later, he gets benched for an academy keeper.
Yeah,
So it has not been an ideal situation for the Knicks.
that's a weird move.
It is. But Albie Kelly Hield, who's the twin brother of Lucas Kelly Hield, who broke through last season, has since been an all-white. It just shows New Zealand's goalkeeper stocks are absolutely outrageous because you have him starting for the Knicks. You got Polson starting for Auckland, who's obviously in front of Michael Weld, who's a bit older these days, but still could have a lot to give.
in terms of A-League.
We have about 6 keepers in England, like playing for youth teams.
We do.
A lot. Just a few, for example, Henry Gray is over there. Joe Wallace recently moved there. We have, or just in Europe in general, I mean, Zach Jones was playing European football for a Welsh team. Keith Sims is now starting in the Swedish top flight. So we have so many young keepers at the moment. It's a bit insane.
We do.
But moving on, the Knicks, obviously, not the season they're hoping for. They were second last year. Was so close to reaching a final for the first time.
Yeah.
But unfortunately lost Bozdal Krajev to Western Sydney Wanderers.
Yeah.
Oscar Savada moved to the Netherlands, where he had a slow start, but he's been banging them in, genuinely banging them in the Eredivisie. So that's awesome to see for him because he's always grateful for Wellington because I don't think he'd scored more than 10 goals in the season before he came to Wellington that first year. He was scoring for fun.
Unlocked him, baby.
Yeah, and I think he's always said he would come back, and I think Phoenix fans would want him to come back now.
No,
Unfortunately,
So don't have to play a defender.
Yeah, he's doing well in the Netherlands, and honestly, Barbarouses has been one of the shining lights for the Knicks this year. He's been winding back the years. He's been very good for them, and he will be a part of the All Whites probably at the World Cup, hopefully, in just over a year. Because his form has just been so good. But I did want to touch on Auckland a little bit more, because for those who are not familiar with the A-League or with Auckland, this is Auckland FC's first ever season.
It is.
In the A-League.
And it's crazy.
It's been an absolutely insane start for life, and I am actually going to grab my little cheat
He's got his little notes,
I got my little cheat sheet here. They've been playing like a team who have been together for seasons. The cohesion they have, in defense especially, it's been absolutely unreal the amount of times they're able to whisk the ball away from danger.
Yeah.
Seemingly with it not being an option. And they've just nailed it with the imports. Unlike the Knicks, who have struggled with their imports for the most part, Auckland started off by signing Hiroki Sakai, who genuine guys who've followed football in Europe for a little while will know who that is.
Yeah.
Anyone who played FIFA in the last 5 years will know who that is. The guy who started at the World Cup like 2 years ago for Japan has about 80 caps for Japan, give or take. Playing for Auckland first season. Huge get. Clearly can see when he's playing how good he is.
Yeah, definitely.
He even finds himself, near the top of the pitch, trying to shoot for himself or put in a cross.
I am going to question the one time, although we have changed it since, when Dan Hall went out injured and we played Sakai at centre-back.
Yes.
I will question that decision, but at the same time, he's pretty much been playing right back ever since then anyway, and at the start of the season, he's been awesome.
Yeah, and I guess with fullbacks, some of them do tend to move centrally when they get a bit older, and with Sakai getting into his mid-30s.
Was he 34?
34-ish. It is, not unusual for a fullback to move in centrally, but we surprisingly had Tommy Smith step up immensely. I don't think a lot of people were expecting a lot from Tommy Smith.
Yeah.
But he stepped up immensely since Dan Hall, who we signed from the Mariners. He just won 2 back-to-back A-League titles. Eligible for Fiji, and I hope he does play for Fiji.
Is he eligible for Fiji?
He is eligible for Fiji.
Oh, say less.
Yeah. So hopefully when Dan Hall gets back, he's back to his best, although I think it's a bit hard on Tommy Smith because he's been playing really well.
Yeah.
The other imports, Guillermo Mai, like I touched on earlier, shoots for fun. He's not a prolific goal scorer, but he scores enough, in my opinion. And he's very good. He's been playing, I think, as a cam more recently behind Max Mata, and it's really working, and it's awesome to see.
Would you call him more of and I'm only throwing this out there, as I'm sure you can tell by now, Simon is the football guy.
I'm the football guy.
I am the basketball guy, but we can talk all sport anyway.
We'll get to that very soon.
But I'm going to throw this out there. When it comes to was it Mai? Would you call him more of a false 9 type of guy?
I think he is. I think he's a bit of a shadow striker.
Okay.
He's a bit of a guy. It's kind of a false 4-4-2. Like Mai is kind of playing up top, but he is dropping back.
Yes.
And he's chilling with the midfielders, because I think that was Jake Brimmer's role at first, who is a former A-League MVP, Johnny Warren medal winner.
Yes.
He hasn't been playing at that level, but he's popped up for, some good moments. And for those who don't know, for the New Zealand teams in the A-League, Australians don't count as imports.
No, they don't. Well, it is an Australian league, so that kind of makes sense.
But for the Australian teams, Kiwis are counted as imports.
Is that true?
Yeah. So we kind of do have a bit of an advantage there. But I'm in a sense saying that Kiwis shouldn't count as an import for the A-League, for the Aussie teams.
No, I don't. If they're not going to count as imports for us, like that. There must be something within the.
It's probably because there's a lot more Australians, and they at the end of the day, it is an Australian league. They probably want as many Aussies as they can, and not as much Kiwis.
True. True.
But the other imports are Louis Verstrade, or as you like to call him,
Verstrat, baby.
Verstrade's been amazing. Yeah. He's holding down that midfield, and with Felipe Gallegos, who goes a little bit more under the radar. Yeah. They've been solid in midfield. They've played. You can obviously see Gallegos' experience, but Verstrade's obviously still quite young. He's got a couple more years to go. He probably wants to end back up in Europe at one stage.
Yeah, I presume so. I presume most of the imports that come to here, like you got to be real. They're probably more likely to be like, you know what, I'm here Let's play really well here so I can end up back in Europe, which is just what it is.
Well,
So,
one player in the form of the last important Nato Moreno, Colombian guy who we got from Atletico Nacional, he has said his lifelong dream is to play in the Premier League, which he's 27. But he's had some awesome moments in the A League this season. He was the last import signed, I think, like bang on the first game of the season. Didn't feature at first because he was still, getting match ready.
Yeah.
But he scored a last ditch free kick against Melbourne City, which did have some dodgy goalkeeping in like the 95th minute, the force a 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
He's popped up early for goals, late for goals. He can be very tricky. He's probably best utilized off the bench, which sucks because you want him to play the full 90 and be just as good the whole time.
Yeah.
But he's been amazing. He started games. He's came off the bench in games. And yeah, he might be hoping this is a gateway to get to Europe. For him, Mai and Verstrade, they're in that like 25 to 27 age range. So they're probably thinking more lucrative opportunities. Maybe not even Europe, but for some of those guys, might be looking at like MLS because I'm a big believer in MLS personally. I think it's a great league. I don't think how they do stuff in the background is great. I think they do some dirty business decisions, but that's not for today.
You mean supposedly do some dirty business decisions?
Yeah, just
I'm going to throw that word out
supposedly,
there. So we don't get cancelled.
Exactly. But Gallegos and Sakai both in their 30s. I think if either of them leave, it's probably back to their home countries or their continents. Sakai did come from Urara Red Diamonds and won an Asian Champions League with them. So maybe this is his last club before retirement, or maybe he's open to playing in some more random places in terms of football, because New Zealand is a pretty random place for a 80-time Japanese international to end up.
That's fair. That is pretty random.
Yeah.
But I guess time will tell.
Time will tell. And just finishing off with Auckland, Alex Paulson, still amazing in goal. You have Nando Peineke has been very good in defense. Francis De Vrij has probably been the real revelation. There is real talk of him now being starting left back for the All Blacks, and this is also All Blacks, All Whites. And that's
Thank God you corrected yourself on that. I was like, oh, yep, we'll start him left wing for the All Blacks.
Yeah,
no
left wing for
problem,
the All
mate.
Blacks. Yeah, we don't need Caleb Clark, do we? I kid, we need Caleb Clark. Because Liberato Kakache, who has been the default left back for the All Whites for about 5 years, has been playing further up the pitch for Empoli and has been working.
I feel like that fits more what he does, though. And if you were going to play Kakacha in a fullback role, it's probably better that he plays as a wing back, whether that's a 5 at the back or a 3, whatever, than it is him playing more traditionally left back that De Vrij does. But I guess it depends on whatever our All Whites manager wants from the team as well.
Exactly.
But I think you need to, you at least need to give it a shout.
Because De Vrij has been amazing at set pieces. And I think if you have Kakache pushing up, him behind him, like I think it's actually going to be quite good if we're playing stronger teams.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they both offer defensive upside, but also offensive upside at the same time.
That's very true. It's going to be interesting, man. I hope Auckland FC finish it off.
Oh, I hope we do. There's a very big chance that we win it all.
That sounds a bit sus from me, but you get it. I hope they finish the season at the top, because like just being like, even because I'm probably more of a casual fan, but being from Auckland, seeing a team in the A League, like, and to be fair, I don't know how long that Auckland team is going to actually be an Auckland team. We'll see what happens, man.
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like Mr. Foley could literally move the team anywhere if it means they get him or the owners or whatever get more money there.
Has had business interests in New Zealand and Auckland specifically for a while.
True.
So I don't think he's going to be the type of, because what we think of American businessmen, and we think of the guys in the NFL, like the guys who moved the Colts from Baltimore to Indianapolis in the middle of the night, and the guy who moved the Browns to Baltimore, and the guy who moved the Oilers to Tennessee. But I don't think Bill's like that.
The Rams owner now that moved them from St. Louis back to LA.
Or the Chargers from San Diego to LA.
LA, yeah. I guess, you're right. To sum it up, it will be different. I hope Auckland stays Auckland. And if they finish off this season in the first season, which is, of course, not a guarantee. No. Nothing's ever a guarantee. But I'd love to be able to see it. That would be so
It's a very
awesome.
high chance there is.
Yeah. What's up next, my man?
But
What's up
moving
next?
on to your expertise, we're up to our international sports of the
International
week.
sports of the week.
And we're going to kick off
do a
with
little bit of
the
intro.
basketball.
Oh, the basketball.
The basketball.
Oh, you're talking in my realm now,
We're
mate.
talking in your round. We're going to cover the 2 American sports of note first before I get to talk football again.
That's very true. Well, let's start with that. We'll start with the NBA All-Star Game, which literally the main All-Star game
Just happened
as of our recording just happened.
about 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
I don't even know the results. So when you tell me who won, I'm going to be very surprised.
There you go. So at the end of the day, so the way they ran it, of course, they had pretty much had 4 teams.
Yeah.
They had a Rising Stars team that played the Sunday, which if you guys are
They
big
actually had
basketball
7
fans,
teams.
yeah, Draymond Green did not like very much, and I somewhat agree with him. But you know,
Yeah.
I'm a Warriors guy. I'm putting myself out there again because I know I'm going to get hate for this. I'm a Golden State Warriors guy. I've been a Golden State Warriors guy since the lockout season, where I'm pretty sure we went either 38-48 or 36-48, and Monte Ellis was the GOAT, but we weren't winning.
Come on,
and then
Monte.
we ended up winning, but there you go. But yeah, so like I'm not sure this was the perfect format for it, but we'll talk about that later as well.
Yeah.
With that being said, Shaq's OGs
Shaq's OGs.
ended up winning. Which that team, to be fair, what you had, LeBron James didn't even play. LeBron James had a last-minute ankle injury, I'm pretty sure.
I did see someone saying that LeBron and someone else decided to sit out, and I was like, I think they're just like playing around, blah blah blah. But no, he actually genuinely didn't play.
Yeah, he genuinely didn't play.
I
He
feel
went
like-
to the photos for the All-Star teams in street clothes. It was great.
I feel like
only the king could get away with
I
that.
feel like if there was something more on the line, LeBron. Oh, my camera just shut off. They'd probably he'd play through an injury for the All-Star game.
Yeah, he would.
But who knows?
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, what do you
Camera
call it?
check.
Yeah, so LeBron didn't play. Steph Curry ended up winning the MVP. Second time he ended up winning.
I don't mean to alarm. Oh no, we are recording.
Yeah, hopefully
We're recording again. I thought we weren't recording the visual, and I was very scared. But we've been recording for 49 minutes already.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is insane.
Which we will cut this part out there. But anyway,
No, we're keeping this in.
oh, we're keeping on.
We're
Sweet
keeping it
as.
uncut.
But there you go. Is that you? No.
Oh.
But yeah, so Curry ended up winning the MVP. Kind of thought it should have gone to Tatum. Tatum played a very good last game, but at the end of the day, the games only went to 40
Can't
points.
believe he's still only 19, Jason Tatum.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
He's definitely not. Oh, that freaking joke going around. But
Been going around a while.
it has been going around a while. But yeah, no, Shaq's OGs pulled it out against the Global Stars.
Global Stars.
The Young Stars put up a pretty good fight in that against the Global Stars, but Global Stars end up pulling it out. So Team Chuck over Team Kenny. Candace's Rising Stars played the OGs. That was actually pretty good matchup from the
few
Rising
players
Stars.
in that team I did recognize, like Zach Edey.
Zach Edey, my guy Trace Jackson Davis,
Dalton Knecht
Yep.
as well.
who still doesn't know if he's getting traded or not.
Yeah, I do feel that whole situation, man, it sucks.
I mean,
for
that
all
trade
parties.
deadline was tough, which, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw that out there. That trade deadline as a
Dallas Mavericks.
what you doing?
We need to have a word. I'm not a Mavericks fan, but when Dylan messaged me, what's going on? I don't know if you mentioned I have a team, but I was like, hold up, I don't know what you're talking about. Let me look at this. And I thought it was going to be very minor because I haven't really been following the NBA too much.
It was
And
the
I
complete
see
opposite.
They trade Luka Doncic to the Lakers, which has been a meme for a while. That
Yeah.
Luka will end up on the Lakers, and everyone's like, no, that's
Yeah.
not happening. They can't have everything. Like,
Well, they better shut up now.
yeah, I mean, they haven't had everything. Their Chris Paul trade got vetoed 14 years ago,
That's
which
very true.
I actually think.
That's so weird to think about now that's been, like, that was vetoed.
Yeah.
And now we're here. Kevin Durant's allowed to come to the Warriors
Yep.
and go with that team there, which I loved, but at the same time, you knew it wouldn't last forever.
Yeah.
And then you have trades like this that are like, whoa.
It's crazy.
dude.
Like Durant's ended up on where has been on a super team almost his entire career.
Yeah. But I'm actually going to use that as a segue.
We're segueing.
Because we're segueing. Because, you know, we can talk about the All-Star game all we want and format and stuff like that. But I think what most people will be talking about now is, look, All-Star games bang on the middle of the season, or at least usually bang on the middle of the season.
Yes.
And ever since the first game, we've been saying who's going to win the title, who's going to win this, who's going to win that. So I'm going to throw this out with the trade deadline we've had.
Yes.
And I know you're more of a casual fan, but I know you know your stuff. Who you got winning the title right now?
It's a really good question. Well, I'm going to tell you two teams who I don't think are going to win the title, and this is controversial.
Yes.
But this is based on previous NBA trends.
Yes.
I do not think that either current conference leader will win the NBA title, which is a very big call.
So the
because
Cavs,
that's the Cavs and the Thunder. And the Thunder are an insane young team.
And they've got picks.
And they've got picks.
So many picks, dude.
Sam Presti, how?
Yeah, there you go.
And then
Must be a Clippers thing.
It must be a Clippers thing. And then and obviously the Cavs with Donovan Mitchell. And I'm still guessing Evan Mobley.
Yep, they've got Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen.
I still have Jarrett Allen.
Actually, Kenny Anderson, their coach, was the assistant coach of the Warriors for a little bit.
That would be a big reason.
He coached the Brooklyn Nets as well. That had the original D'Angelo Russell, and actually did.
I miss that team so much.
And actually did a fantastic job there.
That Nets team is legendary.
With that Nets team.
With Jarrett Allen as well.
Yeah, it was. That's what I'm
Jarrett
saying.
Allen, D'Angelo Russell. What a Nets team.
Yeah.
It's a shame they broke it up for a potential super team, which didn't work.
But I do get your I guess we'll call it a hot take there, because both of those teams super young.
Super young. And we've seen super young teams almost get to the ring before. I think most notably the Thunder in, what was it, 2012?
Yeah, when they played the Heat.
Yeah, and they had young Kevin Durant, young Russell Westbrook, young James Harden, they had Serge Ibaka. They had a team and a half.
Yeah.
And then within a few months, Harden was at the Rockets. And in a few years, Durant went to the Warriors.
Yeah.
You know, he went to the team they lost to in the conference finals a couple years later. When they had Steven Adams. You'd be happy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course I am, mate.
Of course you would. But yeah, looking at the teams, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if Boston repeat. They seem to have the same cohesion as last year. They have one of the best players in the league. They have obviously Jaylen Brown as well. They have a really good supporting cast.
They do. They very much do.
There's a few players I didn't realize were on the Celtics, but I can't remember now. I made a comment to you.
Yeah, the Celtics, I think, and I hate saying this because like even when I was younger, like I was a Kobe guy. Lakers Celtics finals. I won chocolate bars because of that finals.
Yeah,
it was an awesome time.
Yeah,
so I haven't been a Celtics fan since.
Nah.
But I do have to say I do still see them pulling it out right now, and I think it's just going to come down to experience, or what the Warriors like to call championship DNA.
Yeah.
And I think that I could see it coming down to that. With that being said, the Cavs are playing awesome right now.
The Thunder are playing
awesome right now. I could, it's the NBA is probably more wide open than it's been in quite a while.
I'd agree with that statement
quite
as well.
a while. So, yeah. So that's an interesting thing. But I personally think that the Celtics will still pull this off and win their second, at least now.
Yeah.
And as the great Stephen A. once said, it's fluid.
It's fluid. It's very fluid.
But I see the Celtics winning it right now.
And I know they didn't get the trade for Mark Williams, and the defense isn't amazing, but I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron had some insane plot armor and won a title with LA, with Luka, with his son.
Yeah, true.
At 40 years old, performing the way he is.
Yeah,
but I think if they are going to win a chip, will probably be next year if LeBron doesn't regress.
I still think they need parts around them. And like I was having a conversation with another friend of mine, and he was like, "Yep, Lakers are winning it now. They've got Luka. They're going to win." I'm like, "Let's hold our horses a little bit here. We've still got to see if it works." And to be fair, the first game they played with each other, they came and smacked whoever they played.
That clip of Luka seeing LeBron was open and him smiling eye to eye. I shed a tear for that. I would too. That's beautiful.
But that's the thing, right? So people have put out there like Luka's conditioning issues. I don't necessarily think it's a conditioning issue. I think it's a defense issue. And I've talked to you about this off camera, but I'm going to say it now. Luka absolutely, I'm not going to say carry those Mavs teams. Offensively, he did.
Yeah.
But to get the Mavs team that he had to the conference finals against the eventual champion Warriors, and then go and play the Celtics and like and like get that team to the finals.
Yeah.
Like it's like the offense. He's going to probably be the best offensive player in the league.
Yeah.
Like, and to be fair, he probably is now. To be honest, what I think it is, and like growing up in basketball, if you grew up in basketball, you may have heard this before, but defense is 90% effort, 10% skill.
Yeah.
I always got taught that, and the thing that I think is missing is that Luka, because he does so much in offense, that defensive effort isn't necessarily there.
Yeah.
With that being said, that does not take away from the greatness that he is.
No.
And I do think he will eventually, like once LeBron is done.
Yeah.
Which who knows when that's going to be.
Who knows?
when LeBron is done, and then that becomes Luka's team. Because let's be real, it is LeBron's team. Le GM.
Le GM.
Like I think as you can easily build a championship team around it, but I do think, and maybe it is a conditioning thing, but I would love to see Luka Doncic push a slight bit more effort into defense. But hey, with that being said, he's an awesome offensive talent, and that Lakers team is still going to be good. I don't think it's going to be title worthy yet.
Yep.
But I do think they could get there.
Yeah, I think it's just a travesty that, you carry the Dallas Mavericks on your back, and then without any notice, they call you fat and trade you.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
To the Lakers. and then they decide to trade you to the Lakers of all teams. Like,
yeah.
My God. Like, why would you trade to a Western Conference rival, especially the Lakers? The Lakers.
That's tough.
The LA Lakers. The LeBron James, La Lakers, Like,
yeah, the
Lakers. La Lakers.
Yeah, that's tough.
But,
although, like I said to you, the only thing with Anthony Davis,
yes,
and Anthony Davis is a great player, the only thing with Anthony Davis is that he's pretty much made of glass.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate to see.
It's so unfortunate because he's so good. But I do think that a Kyrie AD with Clay there could actually do some sort of damage. But at the end of the day, it's so competitive now. There's so many young guys coming through.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be like it was 2015 to 2020, really.
No.
It's changed. So I think you're going to see more competitive teams there. And it's to be fair, as a basketball guy, I've been playing this game since I was 9. I'm 24 now. Like it's awesome to see how competitive it looks like it's going to become.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be mad at that, even though my Warriors are 10th right now. We're not going to talk about that.
Let's not even just reference the Raptors while we're at it.
Oh yeah, we hate Brandon Ingram though.
Have Brandon Ingram, and we're tanking for Cooper Flag. So
yeah, that's. I'm sure we'll talk about that later on.
Later on
in the season, but yeah,
I do realize we're going a bit over time, but we're still going to cover everything we have on the list. So we're going to quickly dart around Super Bowl 59, which happened exactly a week ago. We both watched together.
Yeah, we did.
And it was a great game for Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Eagles dominated that
defense.
That thing.
Amazing. Cooper DeJean is not a safety.
He is a nickelback.
He is a pick six god.
Yeah. Actually, even though I mean, we're in Aotearoa, we're in New Zealand.
Yes.
Like, it's not an American football country.
No.
But I'm going to do my best right now to try and explain what Cooper DeJean's role is, because...
Try and do it quickly.
Because I think I can. I will. So he's a nickelback. So he's pretty much between a safety and a corner. And pretty much what happens is that when there's all these... Like, when you get all the pass catchers, the wide receivers out, when you've usually got 3 or 4 wide receivers out there, that's when you'd bring DeJean into the game to cover who's usually the one in the inside called the slot.
Yeah.
So he's they call it a nickelback, but he's pretty much middle ground between a safety, who's the ones that usually at the back, and a corner.
Yeah.
So Cooper DeJean isn't locking up your number 1. He's more like locking up your number 3.
Yeah.
But with that being said, the Eagles dominated that game. The defense should have gotten MVP, to be fair, even though Jalen Hurts did play a good game. And even though it was 40-22, and that may seem closer if you didn't watch that game.
Close.
Watch that full game.
It was a blowout.
It honestly should have been 40-6.
It was a blowout. Mahomes just looked like a duck out of water for most of that game, which is insane to say.
That defense was amazing from Philadelphia. Amazing.
Yeah, it was insane. I was really happy the Chiefs didn't win, just because I didn't want to see the three-peat personally.
Yeah.
Great game for the Eagles. Philly gets a second Super Bowl in about 7
7
years,
years.
which is great considering it took them 50 years to get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true.
So great for Philadelphia sports fans, even if people hate them.
Yeah.
But it was a great Super Bowl for me personally to watch, for you to watch personally. It makes me excited for next season because we know there's going to be a lot of interesting developments in the NFL, including players getting traded, players getting drafted. There's always some drama, but we'll have to come and talk about that in September because although we will definitely touch on the draft in April.
And hopefully one day, just one day, I see my Steelers in the Super Bowl again and we actually win a playoff game.
That would be nice.
But that's what we're going to leave it on. Let's go to the Euro football, man, because Chris Wood is literally banging them in, and it is so awesome to see.
Chris Wood has 18 Premier League goals. It is February the 17th.
That's tough.
18 Premier League goals. Now, you get Premier League seasons where you have your top goal scorers all scoring over 20 and your top goal scorers who barely score 20. And this is definitely a season where multiple are scoring over 20.
Yeah.
He's not first. Mo Salah exists.
That to be fair, Liverpool are doing bits right now.
Yeah, Liverpool, no one expected them to be the team to beat. They're 5 points clear of, I believe, 5 points clear or 7 points clear of Arsenal.
I think it's actually 7.
It's 7 points clear of Arsenal. And yeah.
That's tough.
Chris Wood.
That's so tough.
It's been awesome. He scored in a 2-1 loss to Fulham.
Yeah.
He's only 2 goals off a 20-goal season, and a big point is that he has now overtaken Winton Rufer's best ever goal tally in a season, which was 17 for Werder Bremen in 92-93. And a lot of people still say that Wood has a long way to go to catch up to Winton Rufer to be New Zealand's best football export, because Rufer won a European trophy, I believe, not the Champions League.
Pretty sure he did, yeah.
He was top goal scorer in the Champions League one year. And people were using that to Chris Wood, but Chris Wood's playing in the best football league in the world, almost has 20 goals, playing for a team dramatically overachieving.
True. Nottingham Forest should not be up there.
They are third, comfortably third.
That's tough.
With Arsenal above them, yeah, it's an insane season from Forest. You get seasons like this where a team just comes out of nowhere and does really well. This is one of those years for Forest. But the rest of the Premier League is quite interesting. Man City had a horrific run of form last year and the start of this year, and they're now fourth. They will probably finish in a Champions League spot. Unfortunately, if you didn't want them to do well, like a lot of people.
I mean, it's not like they're doing well in the Champions League at the moment.
No,
anyway,
having just lost 2-3 at home to Real Madrid, they play each other again on Thursday.
I can't believe it's between those two to see who goes through into the knockouts and who doesn't.
This new format has caught a lot of teams off guard, I think. And an insane matchup to have.
I will say the Champions League, because I'm going to throw it out once again.
Yeah.
I'm a Leicester guy. We're not going to talk about Leicester because...
briefly.
No, I don't really want to, but there you go. But also, what's funny is that with the Champions League, my favourite German team, Leverkusen, they got through. They're second in the Bundesliga at the moment. And I've now got my favourite French team. I haven't told you. But you know who it is.
Your favourite French team?
My favourite French team. Come on, think about it.
Yeah, I know who it is.
It's by name. And I only call them by 2 words. The Brest.
Yeah.
The Brest is through to the knockouts. Let's go.
At first I was a bit scared you were going to say like a bunch of other teams like PSG or Marseille. I was like, oh no, he's going to say Brest.
The Brest.
I used to like...
Who are almost like... I hate putting it this way because Leicester aren't doing very well at the moment, but they're almost like the French... similar to a French Leicester.
They are. They very much are.
Yeah, especially last year when they finished second.
Yeah. Crazy.
But there you go.
Crazy.
But yeah, I mean, Chris Wood, man, is doing...
Chris Wood's doing insane. Right, Forest play Newcastle on the weekend. Liverpool have 2 very tough games both away. Midweek, they're away to Aston Villa and then to Man City. They win both of those games. I don't think they're losing the Premier League title. I know it's February, almost March, but I think with 13 games to go, I think if they're, in that position, that it's going to be very hard to overtake them, even if you're Arsenal, even if you're the Forest team, which is playing right now. But briefly recapping the Premier League, Spurs and Man United basically out of European contention already. Spurs are 12th, United are 15th. Spurs could maybe sneak back in. United, I don't think they are. I think it's a miracle if they finish top half this year or even top 10. They've had a really poor start under Ten Hag. It hasn't really gotten better under Ruben Amorim, but I think he's going to... improve the team next season. I think they just actually need to secure the players who play his play style well.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I agree
then
with that.
We have a bunch of other teams in and around the likes of City, Bournemouth, Chelsea, and Newcastle all vying for a UCL spot. And then you have Fulham, Villa, Brighton, and Brentford trying to push for European spots, but they probably won't get there. And then we have a whole bunch of other teams, and then we're already down to 4 for the relegation battle this year. Everton have already gone out of their way to be out of that battle. They've had some really good results recently.
Yeah.
I don't consider them a part of that battle, but in 17th you have Wolves, and 18th you have... is it Sheffield? No, it's not. It's Ipswich Town. I forget they're in the Prem.
Yes.
And then you have Leicester in 19th, and then on an
we're not gonna talk
abysmal
about that.
9 points you have Southampton, who are one of the worst Premier League sides we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it's between those 4. I've been predicting Wolves to go down every year for about 5 seasons. So because of that reason, I kind of wish they do go down. Nothing against Wolves fans personally. I just don't want my prediction to hit once. In an ideal world, I would have wanted both Leicester and Ipswich to stay up, but I don't think that's happening. I don't think it's going to happen.
Unfortunately, I hate putting it this way as well. I don't see that happening either.
Yeah.
So Ipswich, you're going down, mate.
Wolves, you're going down, mate. You guys had a great escape, obviously, the year before you won the Prem, so it would be nice to see that again.
This league is different now.
It's very different. It's a very different Premier League. But yeah, Chris Wood is doing his bits.
I just want us at this point. Just want us to survive. And to be fair, I think the Leicester team, besides the defense, which is atrocious.
Yeah.
I think we have a great enough team to at least, I would say, be, maybe that's a little bit biased, but at least be middle table.
You'd hope so, but
then be like where we are now. But hey, we're just going to have to fight. Ruud van Nistelrooy, if you ever listen to this, please get the win against Brentford. Please. And just please keep getting wins after that. I really need you to get some wins, man. I really need you to get some wins. But
as you've just mentioned, Leicester do play Brentford on the weekend in their next Premier League side. They just beat West Ham, I believe, in their last game. So good luck. And in terms of European football, I think that's it for the most part. I do know that Jude Bellingham got sent off against Osasuna because he told the ref to F off. He said, I quote, I think he said something like understandably, or like a polite term, and then he said, F off.
like if I, okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
He said with respect, F off, and he got red carded. And that's all I know from Spain. I believe there is a bit of a title race in Italy between Napoli and Inter, which is nice to see. But I know in France, PSG are storming ahead, and the Bundesliga, Bayern are storming ahead. And La Liga, though, I do know it's a free horse race between Real, Atletico, and Barca, so it will be interesting.
And my guys, when it comes to football, the way
Glory
I follow
Hunter
it is no. You know who my Spanish team is. Up the Athletic Bilbao, baby.
Bilbao.
Who I'm pretty sure are 4th at the moment.
They are 4th. They're actually quite close to Barca. So
let's go.
Kind of a 4-horse race.
Yeah. And then my Italian team's in the 2nd division, but they are 1st. Sassuolo. They are 1st.
Dominic Berardi fan.
Yeah, my man. But anyway, let's go on to the last one, my man. What's our segment, baby?
Well, our segment. I didn't bring this up to you earlier, but there should have been a highly recommended or a consideration for game of the week, segment of the week. But it is under a sport we'd usually cover, but not in this country.
That is true.
The Super League opening game was a 1-0 win to the Leeds Leopards over the reigning champions, who I'm blanking right now. But the first game of the Super League season was 1-0, and in the same week, there was an 82-0 win.
Yeah, that's off.
Yeah,
that's
Super League for you.
Dude.
But our actual segment of the week.
Actually, before you move on to that,
no.
I am going to just before we do, because it's our first episode.
Yes,
I'll explain how the segment works.
Go for it.
So, pretty much we've got four options for segments. The one we're doing this week is what we call our random game of the week. So, random game of the week, pretty much we pull out a random sports result that we probably know nothing about and try the best we can to talk about it.
Although this week it is rigged.
This one is definitely rigged, but it was something that we wanted to talk about because to us, as people that aren't really fans of the sport, is hilarious. But We'll talk about that very soon.
We're
But
going
that's
there.
pretty much how this last bit of our show is going to work. So you're going to have 4 different options. This week, the option is random game of the week.
Random
Simon,
game of the week.
what's the random game of the week, my bro?
Well, we're going to Montreal to the Bell Centre for
It's called the Bell Centre.
the Bell Centre in
Oh,
Montreal.
Bell. Bell?
Bell.
Or Bowel?
No.
The Bell Centre.
Bell. Bell Centre
Yeah.
in Montreal for one of the mini games of this year's and the first ever NHL Four Nations Face-Off. Now, we were talking about the NBA All-Star Game earlier.
Yes,
and
we
the
were.
NHL decided to completely change up the All-Star Game this year and instead host an international tournament featuring NHL players consisting of
It's a pretty cool concept.
amazing concept. Canadian, American, and then the 2 other teams being Sweden and Finland. You'd probably imagine if there weren't any sanctions, a Russian team would have competed. And Germany do have a higher ranking than Finland, but don't have enough NHL players, supposedly.
Okay.
So they were a bit upset they weren't competing. But there had been a couple of games before this. The US smashed Finland, and then Canada narrowly beat Sweden in OT. These games were also held in Montreal.
Yep.
But we
overtime.
had the USA versus Canada in Montreal, and this had absolutely everything you
Bro,
would want.
this was so good.
Instead of a generic All-Star game, you had Canada playing the US, 2 nations with very, very big tension at the moment for issues we're not going to talk about on the sports podcast.
Yeah.
But basically, the US nation gets booed to start the game, and it's been
Bro,
happening.
the anthem got completely booed.
It's been happening at NBA games as well with the Raptors. It's been happening at other NHL games that the American anthem has been booed whenever it's played.
Yeah.
And
I think I'll be honest, in a sports context, I think that's a little bit over the top, like.
nah,
But in saying that,
I reckon it's valid.
and that it makes for great
A
entertainment.
great atmosphere in Montreal, and well, as soon as this match kicked off, there was a fight. And in ice hockey,
Ice hockey is different,
I
man.
did not realize like how the fights actually worked. I just thought people would get aggressive and just start punching and
Just go, yeah.
no. What they do is they look at each other, they take the gloves off, they drop the sticks, and they just start punching.
And they let them go.
And they let them go.
And they let them go.
Everyone stays away.
It's the most insane thing ever. And the reason I say that is because I have 2 brothers that have played ice hockey. One is still playing ice hockey, but not as regularly as he was. He did play for Queensland in Australia.
Oh, hell yeah.
But when I saw this, I finally realized why he plays this game.
Yeah. And
this is insane stuff.
and not just was there a fight in straight away, there were 3 fights in the first 9 seconds.
3 in the
3
first
fights,
9
3
seconds.
separate fights within 9 seconds, and the crowd was going absolutely ballistic. It was an insane atmosphere. Unfortunately for Canada, they didn't get the win. They did lose 3-1
Both
to the USA.
And I was looking at comments as well. It seemed like both teams were quite stacked.
Yeah, because this is, for context, international ice hockey is a bit strange. The Olympics haven't had NHL players since 2014, which was almost 12 years ago now.
That was actually, well, that was in Sochi, eh?
In Sochi.
Yep.
And there is an Ice Hockey World Championship, but it is held during the Stanley Cup playoffs, which means the players still playing in the playoffs can't compete.
Yeah.
So you don't get full strength teams from like the US and from Canada, but you
No.
do get like some good NHL players. So this is the first time, at least for the US and the Canadian teams, that they've got their best teams playing, and it's happening during the season. It's funded by the NHL, and it is working a treat.
Yeah.
It is just such an awesome concept, and it does raise the question: what do the NBA and the NFL have to do to improve their All-Star game and their Pro
Yeah.
Bowl? And I think that's a discussion for potentially another time.
It is definitely, because we have been recording for a while.
For well over an hour, and my camera is showing the low battery side, which is crazy because I
Yeah.
just charged it yesterday.
That's
fully,
fun times.
and I haven't used it since.
But yeah, there we go, man. There
But
we go.
yeah, just to get in the game specifically, very quickly, Connor McDavid's one of the best ice hockey players in the world.
He probably is the best ice hockey player in
I
the
think
world.
he is. He's the latest MVP. He scored Canada's only goal. The Americans, one guy scored 2, one guy scored 1. Don't have their names.
Is Connor McDavid Canadian?
He is Canadian.
I didn't know that.
Plays for
There
the
you go.
Edmonton Oilers, just like one former great NHL player,
Mr. Gretzky, mate.
Glenski, bro.
Well, there you go.
Gretzky. So
you
Glenski's
go.
just one of my favorite.
Glemsky.
Wayne Glenski.
Oh my god.
Glinsky, Gretzky.
This is falling
Gretzky.
apart. We're going to get out of here.
We're going to get out of here.
But if you are listening, thank you so much.
Thank you for
tuning in.
sticking to the end. We've been rambling for a lot longer,
Thanks.
and I think this is going to leave us to streamline the process next week a little bit more.
But man, all it shows that we love talking sport.
We love talking sport.
and that's what
On a couch.
we want to do.
We're couch side, baby.
Yeah, we wanna create a place where people can just sit down and either listen or talk some sport with somebody else, just like we love to do.
Exactly, and we are on basically all major social platforms. You can chuck us a follow there. Will be some iteration of CouchSide Network, whether it's a dot or an underscore in the middle.
Yeah.
You can listen to this, obviously, either on Spotify or on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you get the nice visual of me and Dylan sitting on the couch. Spotify, you don't have to look at our ugly faces. So,
that's fair.
It's whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
And if
That's all
all
my
goes...
girlfriend says to me.
Classic. And if this all goes to plan, we'll be back here same time, same day next week with a
There you
new
go,
episode.
mate.
We'll be talking about the latest Super Rugby games. We'll be probably talking about a little bit of the new basketball results post the All-Star break.
True.
We'll be talking about the A-League.
Yep.
The Kiwi Derby is this weekend. Auckland versus Wellington.
Let's go.
I
Up the
will
Black
be
Knights.
there. I'm going to be so looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
been
gonna
able to
be cool.
go to the other derbies, so that's going to be awesome. Mr. Courtney,
gonna
it
be
has been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
First episode in the books. If all goes to plan, this is releasing Tuesday morning.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Let's hope so. Thank
Yeah.
you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next week with more rambling.
There we go.
Adios.
CouchSide Sports Report. Ka kite anō. Peace out.
Ka kite anō. No one's going to listen to this. Oh, they can't.